Hey everybody, welcome to Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. This is episode number 279 of our YouTube channel and podcast, and I could not be more excited to continue sharing with you guys personal finance topics that I think could be useful for you in your long-term financial journey. Today, we are going to be talking about your 401k and specifically why it's not a good idea in some circumstances to max out your 401k. And we're going to talk about exactly what those circumstances are and then the circumstances in which it is okay. Go ahead, max out your 401k. So I want you to know how to use your 401k properly, and I want you to know where maxing it out falls in the priority list of your investing life. So stick around for all that and more in today's episode. Before we get started though, if you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to respond to anything you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcast, be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. And then if you need somebody to help you to build a financial plan and keep you accountable to that plan over the long term, then I can do that. Just DM me on any of the major social media sites and tell me that you are interested in financial coaching sessions, and you and I can begin working together, pushing towards your long-term financial goals, and then ultimately pushing you on towards long-term financial freedom, which is what I hope for every single individual who is watching or listening to this show on a day-to-day basis. Now, in recent years, for some reason, the 401k has begun to get a bad rap, right? A lot of people don't think that the 401k is a proper place to put your money. It's not a proper place to invest, not a proper place to build your wealth over the long term. I don't agree with that. Okay, I think that the 401k is a perfectly good place to build your wealth, or else so many Americans wouldn't have already done so. They wouldn't have already used the 401k as the primary tool to build wealth over a long period of time, to become a millionaire ultimately. Okay, and I think that you can use a 401k properly. I think you can use a 401k to build wealth. I think you can do a lot of good things within a 401k. Okay, but what I want to talk about is exactly why you shouldn't max out your 401k at any given time. Because everybody talks about you want to do as much as you can, be as close to maxing out your 401k as possible. Put all your money in your 401k. Just put it all in there. And that's all the investing that most people know. Most people only know investing in their 401k. When you talk about their investing life or their investment accounts, they're going to point directly to their 401k or their 403b or their TSP or whatever other employer-sponsored retirement account that they have. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that being a large part of your investable assets, because I'll tell you, between my wife and I, her 401k has been a very important piece to our investing life. So I'm not saying that it is not important. I'm just saying that for most people, it's all that they have. It's all that they know when it comes to investing. And I don't want it to be that way. I don't want that to be all that you know when it comes to investing. And I don't want it to be the only place that you end up investing over a long period of time. But I want to give you the permission to invest in your 401k. I want to give you the reasoning behind investing in your 401k for different reasons. And I ultimately want to tell you why maxing out your 401k just might not be the best thing at a lot of points in your financial life. Okay, so let's start out with this. Let's start out with the first reason why your 401k should not get maxed out. And that is you're not there yet. Okay. I set up the financial action plan in the way that I do because you need to do some certain things financially to lay a foundation for yourself to build yourself up to maximizing investment accounts. Okay. So when you first begin, you need to be budgeting. You need to be doing that in a unique way every single month. You need to set aside a month's worth of expenses in an emergency fund just to begin your emergency fund off. Right? Then you can invest in your employer-sponsored retirement account. I give you full right to do that up to the employer match if it is offered to you, but only if you have an account like a 401k or a 403b that does have an employer match can you do that. Okay, but you only want to be investing up to the match at that point because there are other things to do. There's other things that are on the docket as far as your finances go. Okay, after that, you need to pay off all of your consumer debt other than your mortgage. That needs to get paid off because if we have debt, we are moving in the wrong direction. Our interest is growing and we're paying more and more and more in interest over time. And yet we are trying to invest here on the other side of the ledger. And you're trying to do two things that are fighting against one another as far far as cash flow. Okay, so we need to get our debt out of the way. That way we can maximize our cash flow, and that debt won't be a strain on our cash flow over a long period of time. So we want to get out of debt. Then we want to build up a fully funded emergency fund. That's the fifth part of the financial action plan, with 4 to 6 months of household expenses in that particular emergency fund. And then you can invest, and you can invest heavily, and you can invest at least 15% of your income for your future, for your family's future, right? And that's perfectly fine. And at that point, you may be at a point where you end up investing everything in your 401k. I get it, right? And 15% of your income may end up being enough to get to the $19,500 that is the annual maximum for a 401k right now. So it's very possible that you could max out the 401k there, okay? But there are a lot of other things that you would have had to do first, things that need to be laid out first. And for a lot of people, 15% of their income is not going to be $19,500. So even in that particular step, they're not going to get to, investing that much and maxing out their 401k. And you should also, simultaneous with that step, be trying to pay off your home early. And if you're trying to pay off your home early, then, if 15% of your income is not your, $19,500 maxing out your 401k, whatever, if it is not that, then the rest of your money, apart from that 15 or so percent, whatever you're choosing to invest, should go towards paying off your house early. Then once we do that, we do all of those things, then the very next step is what? And I don't talk about this step a lot, but then that next step is max everything out. Okay, that next step is then you can go and you can look at your 401k and try to put as much money in as possible. You can go and look at your IRAs, put as much money in as possible, right? That is where we can maximize everything. And you may say, well, I have to do all these things in order to maximize. Yes, but we are investing, and we are investing good amounts of money, okay? But just because we're not maxing out our 401k up to that point does not mean that we're not making good financial progress. We are laying a financial foundation for ourselves, and we're investing along the way, and we're investing in good amounts along the way as well that will get us to where we need to get to. But you have to work yourself up to maxing out your 401k. $19,500 a year is no slouch. Okay. And then if you're over age 50, $26,000 a year. It's no slouch, right? That is a lot of money to be, saying, hey, here's, this much money to put into whatever account, right? And especially putting that money in and having it tied up for a long period of time. It's not like you're putting it in a taxable brokerage where you could just take it right back out at any time. No, this would have penalties and taxes associated with it if you chose to take it out, okay? So we have to understand that just because maybe we can max out our 401k doesn't mean it should be the first thing that we do. And then for those of you who say, well, I can't max out my 401k, well, then that's okay. You still need to do other things first as well. And that doesn't mean that you can't put money into it, because you absolutely can. Okay, so that's the first thing that you need to understand, is that there is a process. There's a process of building a financial foundation to get to a point where you can max out your 401k potentially. But before you get there, you have to hit a few milestones. You have to be budgeting. You have to have your emergency fund. You have to be out of debt. You have to be investing some already. You have to pay off your home. And then by all means, max out everything that you have, okay? Now, the second thing is that 401ks are not the preferred method, in my eyes, to invest your money, right? And in a lot of other people's eyes as well. 401ks are not the preferred method. But when I'm talking about not the preferred method, I'm talking about not the preferred method when it comes to retirement accounts. Okay. Now, 401ks have some very distinct advantages, and we're going to talk about what those are. Okay. But the distinct retirement account that I am talking about is the IRA, and specifically the Roth IRA. Okay. If you can put money into a Roth IRA, okay, and you can begin maximizing your Roth IRA, which you only have to put $6,000 annually into a Roth IRA to max it out, $7,000 if you're over age 50, which those contribution limits are far lower than the 401k itself. Okay, so if you aren't putting money into your Roth IRA, if you're not taking advantage of that Roth asset where you can put money in after tax, let the money grow tax-free, and then ultimately withdraw tax-free money later, then you're missing out on a big advantage. A Roth IRA is a very, very useful tax-advantaged retirement account In the same way that a 401k is a tax-advantaged retirement account. They are both in that category, okay? But Roth IRAs, they give you more flexibility. You can choose what you want to invest in, okay? You can be more flexible with your investment choices, and if you need to move it, you can move it. And specifically with Roth IRAs, not that I suggest that you do this because in order to compound your money over time, this is not the best strategy. But if you need to take the money out for educational expenses, if you need to take the money out to put a down payment on a home, you can do that. You can take your principal amount out at any point. So the amount that you actually contributed, you can take that out at any point. And that's very, very useful, right? It's useful to have more availability of your money. But more than that, growing your money tax-free and doing so with more flexibility is huge. Now, there's something, if you have any idea about 401ks and IRAs and things of the like, you may be saying, well, Dylan, you're missing something here. And I know I'm missing something. And what I'm missing here is that there's a Roth option to a 401k as well in many, many cases. Now, your employer might not offer that Roth option, okay, which can be a problem, okay, but your employer might well offer that Roth option. And if you can put Roth assets into a 401k, that might end up being more beneficial to you. The only thing that you're going to miss out on is the flexibility of investment choices. You're only going to be relegated to the investment choices that are within the 401k itself. But within a 401k, it doesn't matter what your income is. With a Roth IRA, there are income limits. With a 401k, specifically a Roth 401k, you can put in up to the max regardless of what your income is. Okay, so you can put up to $19,500 even if you have a very high income, whereas with the Roth IRA, you can't even put in the $6,000 maximum contribution if your income is over a certain amount. Okay, so Roth 401ks have the advantage there. So putting money away can be very useful for higher income individuals. Okay, but they do lose the ability to be flexible with the investments that they choose to put within that 401k. Okay, but investing more can be a big advantage. Okay, so this is a trade-off, and it's something that you have to determine what is more valuable. Okay, what is more valuable to you as an investor? Is the ability to be more flexible with your investment choices more valuable, or is it more valuable to be able to put away more in the way of tax-free assets? Now, I would say in many cases, if you could put in more than $6,000 a year into the Roth 401k, then put that money in the Roth 401k. That way, you can put as much as you can into that tax-free type account. So while we're on this topic, while we're talking about this, I should give you my hierarchy. I should tell you what I think as far as what type of account you should go to first, and then second, and then third, and so on and so forth. Okay. So here's what I think. If you can get a match, whether you have a Roth 401k or not, you should invest up to that match because that match is absolute free money. Okay, that is the biggest benefit that the 401k offers by far, is that you can have your money matched. Okay, if you're putting in 4% and your employer's putting in 4%, now 8% of your salary is going in and you only have to put in 4%. Okay, that's a huge advantage over any other type of retirement account, any other type of investment account for that matter. Okay, that's why the third part of the financial action plan is get the match if you have it, right? Because that is free money and we don't want to leave free money on the table. So any type of match, regardless of the type of account that you have, is going to be useful to you. Now, past the match, then what? What are we going to do past the employer match? Well, past the match, then I would choose to go to the Roth IRA next. Now, for multiple reasons here, because if you can put money into a Roth IRA, okay, if you are within the income limits, it does have more flexibility of what you can invest in, and you're able to move this money from one broker to another if you need to very easily. It does have those advantages of the money that you could take out. I would go to the Roth IRA next. Now, if you can't put money into an IRA, okay, and you have the ability to put money into the 401k. So if you are above the income limits of the Roth IRA, but you do have a Roth 401k available to you, then I would go to the Roth 401k. Okay. Now this is again past the match. The match, hey, Roth or otherwise, you should be getting that match. Okay. But then once we're past that, once we're past getting the match, any other money over the match, okay, I go to the Roth IRA. If I can put money there, then I go to the Roth 401k. Okay, then I'll look around and I go, okay, all that I have left is not Roth accounts, but traditional accounts, meaning that you put money in before taxes, you get a tax deduction, then that money grows tax deferred, and when you take it out later, there are taxes on that money. So what would I do there? Well, I would choose the traditional IRA as the next place to put money because, again, more flexibility of investment choices there. And then if you have the traditional 401k, then I would put the rest of the money in the traditional 401k. And then past that, if you need more places to invest, then bravo at the amount of money that you're investing. But you can put money into taxable brokerage accounts and things of the like. Obviously, there are also HSAs out there. So if you have a high deductible health plan, you can put money in an HSA, and that's triple tax advantage money. So that can be extremely valuable. But again, that money has several caveats to it. But I'd kind of put that alongside the traditional IRA because ultimately, if you don't use that money by the age of 65, that money becomes like a traditional IRA to you, and you can use it for anything. But you just have to pay taxes on the back end. So that's what I think when it comes to the hierarchy of where and when you should be investing your money in these different types of accounts. Okay, but you have to understand that the Roth IRA is extremely valuable. That a Roth account in general is extremely valuable. But the Roth IRA may be a reason that you don't end up hitting the maximum on your 401k because the Roth IRA is more valuable than putting money in your 401k in some cases. Okay, so regardless of what you think, that's my opinion. We can move on. Okay, but what we have to make sure of, what we have to understand is that if we are not putting up to the match into our 401k, then we are absolutely missing out. Okay, that's money that has to be taken advantage of. Then anything past that may work us up towards the maximum in the 401k. But otherwise, we want to be taking advantage of as much tax-free money as possible. Now, what's another reason that we may not max out our 401k? Well, 401ks do have higher than usual fees. And this kind of goes to the hierarchy of accounts that I would choose to invest in. But 401ks tend to have higher fees than something like an IRA. So if your employer offers an unnecessarily expensive retirement plan, so where the plan itself has certain fees, certain administrative fees that are going to be extremely high, and then something that you'll also see that I've always thought is crazy, but it is very, very true, that within a plan you may have access to, let's say, mutual funds that are offered via many of the major mutual fund providers, Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity, whatever. But the expense ratio on those particular funds within a particular 401k is far more likely to be higher than it actually is if you would just go and buy it within your IRA or something of the like. Okay, so you need to watch out for those fees. You need to watch out for how much you are paying to invest within your 401k. Now, this doesn't necessarily change my order of operations, if you will. It doesn't really change my hierarchy of the investment accounts that you should put money into, but it may make you think twice before just putting all your money into the 401k and not considering the IRAs. Because like I said earlier, it's okay if you're just, pouring money into your 401k, it's working for you, you're building wealth there. You don't want to, break something if it's not broken, right? You don't want to try to fix something that's not already broken. Then by all means, keep going. But you need to understand that there may be more efficient uses of your money. There may be more efficient places that you can put your money and allow it to grow over time without having to deal with exorbitant fees and with being able to invest your money in the most frictionless place possible. Okay, so high fees may be a reason that you do not max out your 401k. Then ultimately, you may need money for other things. Okay, maxing out your 401k is not the end all be all. Okay, and once you're investing 15% plus for your retirement, you should be well on your way to building wealth over the long term. But you may need some money to do some other things, and that's perfectly fine. You may have to send a kid to college. By all means, send the kid to college. Pay for the kid's college. Do it. Okay, you may have to pay for a wedding. Do it. Okay, you may need to save up for a new car. You may need to save up to buy some land that you've always wanted to buy, or to buy a vacation house that you've always wanted to buy, or do whatever, right? You may have other things that you need to do or want to do that get in the way of maxing out your 401k, and that is perfectly fine. Okay, it's perfectly fine to not max out your 401k. Like I said, $19,500 a year is a lot of money. And if you were to invest that much every single year over and over and over again, you would become insanely wealthy over time. So let's just say that never changed, right? That maximum contribution limit never changed. And you did that over a 40-year working career. Okay, let's say you maxed it out. And you did it on a monthly basis. So you took that $19,500, divided it out by 12, and you just said, okay, we're going to invest in the S&P 500, and it made 10% a year over the last 40 years or so. Okay, how much money would you have? You would have $10.28 million if you maxed out your 401k every year. So maxing out your 401k could be very, very valuable to you and could build a lot of wealth, but that's a very high contribution limit. And it's very difficult for people to get to that amount. I mean, you're talking $19,500 a year, right? But on a monthly basis, that's $1,625. That is a lot of money to be putting away for a lot of individuals, okay? Now, I'm not saying it can't be done or shouldn't be done by some people, because if your income's high enough, then by all means, you should be putting away that much every single month, okay? But what I am saying is that it is a difficult number to get to. And I'm not pushing everybody to go and max out and get to that particular number. But if you can, by all means, okay, I'm just trying to give you some pushback as to why that is not the end all be all. Because you cut that number in half, you still have over $5 million in retirement. You take a fourth of that, you still have over $2.5 million in retirement. Okay, so you would still be in good shape even if that wasn't your ultimate goal to max out your 401k every year. But some people, they need those types of goals. They want to keep things simple, and they say, okay, well, my goal is just every single year, I'm just going to max out my 401k. Fine, do it. Okay, that's fine. Okay, if you can get to that point. But it's okay if you don't. And there are other things that may come first. Now, none of this video is meant to deter you from investing. And specifically, none of it is meant to deter you from investing in 401ks. Because I believe in 401ks. Like I said, me and my wife use a 401k. But what it is here for, what I'm trying to convey to you throughout the course of this video, is that you have different things that you can do with your money. Okay. And you don't have to just settle for the easiest thing. You can learn, you can do some research, you can listen to this show, you can watch this show and understand that there are other things that you could be doing with your money, with the money that you're putting away for retirement, that would be better off. Now, some of the biggest arguments against using the 401k are people saying, oh, well, I don't want to tie my money up. I don't want to have my money in an account that I can't just, reach in and get that money. I want that money to be, providing cash flow to me, right? That's one of the big things of all the real estate heads, right? They'll all be saying, well, it doesn't give me any cash flow. It's not worth anything. Of course it's worth something. Of course it's valuable, or else, millions of Americans wouldn't be using them. Okay. We're not that dumb. Okay. Yes, we can be duped for a short period of time, but we are not that dumb. Okay. 401ks can be extremely valuable. Now, the biggest values to them, of course, are the match, right? The match is just, far and away the biggest advantage that the 401k gives us. And then the tax advantage nature, right? You can invest in real estate all you want, or cash flow producing assets all that you want, right? But I'll tell you what's not happening there. What's not happening there is you are not getting free money. Okay. All the money that you're getting there is just return on investment. Okay, you're not getting free money in the way of a match like you would with a 401k. The reason that you can tell that I love a 401k so much is because the match is so early on in the financial action plan. You wouldn't expect the match to be in that place, right? You see other things like budgeting and getting out of debt and emergency fund, but all of a sudden it's like, hey, if you have a match, take it. Because free money doesn't come along every single day. You need to take advantage of free money. And the 401k is a prime place that you can actually do that. And anybody who says that you shouldn't put your money in a 401k, they don't have all the information. Now, again, I'm here telling you today, there are multiple different options that you may have, but that does not mean that the 401k should just be written off as a bad idea in all cases. And the whole idea that the money is going to be tied up for a long period of time and you're not going to be able to get the money out if you need it, well, that's the case with just about any investment. Okay. Even if you invest in something like real estate, right, you're not going to want to just, buy the property and then, get some, rental income for a little while and then sell the property and, have to take that tax hit. That's not what most people who get wealthy in real estate do. What do? If they want to get rid of that property, they'll roll it into a new property. Okay. They're not taking money off of those properties. And something that you have to understand is all the individuals that are telling you to take cash flow, right, take those rents off, are missing something very, very important. And what they are missing is compound interest, right? Because with a share of stock, right, as it goes up in value, it's going to continue to grow the amount of money that you have in it, but it may pay dividends. And one of the biggest growth factors in, let's say, the S&P 500 over time has been dividend payments, right? And reinvestment of dividends. So if you're not taking the cash flow that you're making on something like real estate and reinvesting it back into the real estate, then you're missing out on one of the biggest growth drivers that there is out there. Okay. So you have to understand that those saying that, hey, you can't get your money out until you're 55, whatever, you wouldn't be wanting to do that anyway with your investments. Okay. Yeah. Okay. If you want to invest early, then that may become an issue. But that's why we do what we call bridge investing, and we invest within things like brokerage accounts, or maybe you have some real estate that does provide you some rents or whatever. But it's not the end all be all that, I can't get this money until 55. It's a horrible idea. That's what people say about the Roth IRA too, is that you can't get the money until 59 and a half. It's a horrible idea. Okay. It saves you so much on taxes over time. And it provides you a lot of flexibility, the IRA does, to where why wouldn't you decide to do that? It's easy, it's easily accessible, and it's giving you tax advantages. I don't know why you wouldn't take advantage of that over the long term, okay? People will find any reason to push back against traditional finance. They'll push back against traditional financial instruments as much as they want to. You see people doing it right now. The real estate thing's been happening for a while. People pushing back against, stocks and retirement accounts and all these types of things and saying that real estate's the only way to go, when that's obviously not the truth. Now people push back and they're saying, if you still invest in mutual funds and ETFs, you're a boomer, and the only way to do it is to trade meme stocks and buy crypto and whatever. And that's not true either. Okay. The 401k, it is boring. Okay. It is 100% boring. It is 100% just, week by week, month by month, bi-weekly by bi-weekly, year by year. You're just building up your money, just slowly but surely putting money away from each check and allowing that money to accumulate over time. And something that you'll find with something like a 401k that is a very, very, very big advantage to you is that the limited choices that they give you make it to where you're not going to be playing around. Okay. You're going to just keep putting money in, letting the money grow, let it keep going and going and going. Because with an IRA, you may get caught up in the fact that you have so much flexibility that you think that, I can trade within this and the gains aren't taxed and all these types of things. And you can, make a lot of bad decisions with a lot of flexibility. But the restrictions of the 401k can actually turn out to be a blessing in disguise, because they can keep you to where you're just constantly putting money into an S&P 500 index fund, or you're constantly putting money into good mutual funds that track the stock market or whatever over time. Okay. The 401k can be very valuable. Again, does this mean that you should be maxing it out every year? Probably not. And does this mean that you have enough money to be maxing it out in the first place? Probably not. Okay. But if your whole investing strategy is, I'm going to get a 401k match and I'm going to invest more money in my 401k and I'm just going to do that and do that and do that until the cows come home, I'm going to tell you this: you are likely to beat people who try to get sophisticated. People who try to get sophisticated are going to lose to somebody who is trying to do things simple in the way that you are, because simplicity, it takes all of the noise out. Simplicity takes all of the things out that are going to hinder returns over the long period of time. And if you just get invested, stay invested, and keep pouring money in, that is the way you win over a long period of time, as long as you have decent investment choices. You don't even have to have the best investment choices, and you'll beat most people over a long period of time. So by all means, keep doing that. But I just wanted to tell you some reasons why maxing out your 401k may not be the best thing when it comes to, just the details of investing over time. But if that's what you're doing and you're winning with it, keep winning. I'll continue to root for you, and I'll continue using the 401k as well. So thanks for watching this video. If you could go down below, hit the big red subscribe button, like this video, leave me any feedback in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to respond to anything you leave down there. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcast, be sure to subscribe and leave me a review on either one of those platforms. Follow me on social media at MNO with Dylan, and that's really good supplemental materials to all the things I'm putting out in these long form episodes on YouTube and the podcast every single day. And then if you need somebody to help you to build a financial plan and keep you accountable to that plan over the long term, then I can do that. Just DM me on any of the major social media sites and tell me that you are interested in financial coaching sessions, and you and I can begin working together, pushing towards your long-term financial goals, and then ultimately pushing you on towards long-term financial freedom, which is what I hope for every single individual watching or listening to this show on a day-to-day basis. So tune in tomorrow as I continue talking about personal finance topics that I think could be useful for you in your long-term financial journey. So thanks for tuning in to this episode of Money's No Object. I'm your host, Dylan Howell. God bless.